Sweet. Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to actually react to some tech adjacent content and just discuss, have a good time. So let us know in the comments what you think about each story. I actually got a few that I think are funny. We'll start with like a more kind of coding career centric one.
All right.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. So the poster asks, can I get into the job market without learning front end? I'm a computer engineering student who is set to graduate in about 4 to 5 months. My problem is that I can't stand to learn front end, nor do I like to program in it, and I don't ever want to deal with CSS. I am by no means a person who only programs in one language, but I really like Go and learned how web applications work from reading books. And I really love how simple the language is in tackling subjects. Plus, I have no problems learning frameworks like Ruby on Rails and Django. My goal is to get a remote job with a salary in the range of around $1,500 per month. That's actually a really reasonable goal. My current plan is to read a couple of good Go books like Let's Go and Let's Go Further, in addition to test-driven development and Django, and maybe a book that teaches a bit of the DevOps stack in addition to solving a problem daily on LeetCode for interview purposes. So I just wanted to seek advice on my current plan, and I'm open to suggestions that will raise the chance of me getting into the market, whether it be books or me focusing on a completely different track. Whenever you're reading these Reddit stories, you got to kind of, they do a bunch of typos.
Yeah,
so you got to kind of
facts.
piece it together a little bit. So what do you think? Can you get a job without doing front end?
They're asking the wrong questions. What are your skills? What do you do?
It's a student. You know?
Yeah, that don't make no difference.
They're a student.
What do you do? What do you like to
engineering
do?
student.
Because dog, if you don't want to do front end, then you're not going to apply for front end positions. You're not going to work in full stack positions. You're handicapping yourself. But to that point, it's completely okay because you deserve and reserve the right to work on what you want to work on. You might have to correct me. I missed through the rest of that discussion what they actually do. I feel like for actual guidance, we need to point you in the direction of your skill sets and what you want.
Student preparing for their first job is familiar with multiple programming languages, really likes Golang as a language. That's basically the synopsis. I think the short answer is definitely you can get a job without doing
Absolutely.
front end. For sure, there's a ton of back end oriented jobs. I think the majority of all, if not all, I've never seen a Golang job that wasn't just back end, actually.
Yeah.
I think the easy answer is yes, of course, you don't need to do front end if you don't want to. And to your point, like, just double down. If that's really what you're passionate about, then do the work to separate yourself with that.
You know what this makes me feel like? It makes me feel like the original poster possibly had or is having people around them with a clear path because they're doing front end. Or maybe they might be studying under someone who has a lot of front end experience, and they're probably saying, in this job market, everybody needs front end developers, and they're sitting in class like, I hate doing front end. I don't want to do any.
Yep.
So that's what kind of leads to the anxiety that would cause you to post something like this. But if somebody's showing you front end, somebody's pulling data so that they're not just giving you shapes and widgets. Somebody's giving you data. So if that's the case, then go ahead, follow your heart, do what you want to do.
Yeah, this sounds like someone to me who just kind of doesn't maybe have practical mentorship.
Yeah.
It's any type of research, you're going to see a lot of back-end related jobs. So could be legit, could be not legit. I'm not really sure if they're being super serious or not, but it sounds like maybe there's even a potential language barrier. Because they may be, it doesn't sound like maybe they're in the U.S. market, especially if they're targeting $1,500
That was
per
another
month.
thing that ding.
Unless they're thinking like very low paid internships or something. But no, I think Golang overall is a very lucrative skill right now in the job market.
Is it bad to say that? All right, I say this because I've seen India rates. It feels like that, India-based work, where this is what you're targeting, which would put you and set you up for this type of success based on the information that you have. But maybe the types of work that you're surrounded by are look as if they're favoring front end, which is why you don't even know if you can get in without it. But yeah,
It's-
I didn't
yeah,
think
it's
I didn't
possible.
think about the difference of being in a different place until you mentioned that.
Yeah, it does have an impact. I think it's
Yeah,
a
big
bit
time.
harder for them at times, and there's a lot of obvious front end opportunities, and I think you see a lot of content that's talking about front end opportunities. But yeah, for all around the globe, like ton of need. There's a huge need for back end devs, and there's a huge need for front end devs. Do what you want to do.
Indeed.
Awesome. All right, let's jump into the next one. This one is funny. It's more general career advice. Is my manager a creep, or
Yes.
am I just overthinking?
I don't even
That's
wanna-
my
I need to hear-
immediate.
Don't have to hear anything else. If you
Yes.
think your manager's a creep, they are.
I felt the exact same way when I read this. 90% of the time, if you're asking the question, they are probably a little creepy. But hey, I'm not going to assume this. Let's jump in. I'm 20 F, have a manager 35M who lingers around me a lot. I joined this place 5 days ago, and I already have a bad feeling about it. When he has to teach me something, he gets really close to me. Yeah, creepy. Inside my bubble and has no problem with it. At first, I just thought he was built that way, but every day he does weirder stuff that makes me question more and more. He always has a grin on his face when
Yuck.
we make. Yeah. Oh, that's yeah.
Oh God.
I just don't. I'm picturing the creepiest grin right now. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna get through it. He always has a grin on his face when we make an eye contact.
Yeah.
He and I have accidentally touched at least twice a day. I don't think that's an accident.
A day?
Oh yeah. Which is very fishy. Yeah, it is. Your instincts are good. He's extremely nice for no reason. He praises me for doing literally the easiest stuff, like clicking a pic of a customer. Today he complimented me on my outfit and said I looked good. Oh, come on. This can't be serious.
The next sentence is
Oh,
worse.
my
The
God.
next sentence
Okay.
is worse. But
I ended up blurting out, "Yeah, I know." He then said, "You are very beautiful," and I froze.
yeah.
I'm just getting the cringe.
Yeah.
I just shrugged it off and said, "I know," and left it at that. He has texted me at 2 a.m. twice already.
If you have
What?
to ask the question, the
Wow.
answer is yes.
If anyone's texting me at 2 a.m., it's probably a problem or an emergency. Like, why is my boss texting me at 2 a.m.? I don't understand that.
There's-
For work-related stuff,
Yeah,
though.
no.
Yeah, that's a problem, too.
Yeah, no.
I don't care if it is work-related stuff. Why are you texting me at 2 a.m. unless I'm on call and there's a production outage and that's within my job description specifically?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
I'd be really interested to know what those texts look like.
Yeah. And he asked me about my personal life, too. There's no HR. Okay, there you go. You're in a company without HR. That should have been your first and final red flag.
I know the job market is tough, sweetheart, but
that-
don't do that.
I hope it's all in my head. It's not. And he's just like that with everybody. Yeah, no, he's not. He's gross, a little gross, and you should probably leave. You don't have an HR department.
Because that was my first thought is, hey, man, he's giving you like C-suite creep vibes. And if I'm you, I'm suing Creep LLC to the night comes. Like, dog, everything in these 3 paragraphs is uncomfortable to listen to. And I can only imagine 10 times more uncomfortable to physically go through on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's disturbing. Definitely get yourself out of that situation.
Yeah. Have you ever had an uncomfortable work situation along these? As men, I can imagine it being different, but
Yeah, as a guy, I don't think I really have to worry about it as much. I have had. Actually, that's not true.
fair.
Now that I'm thinking about
Yeah.
this, I just think I brushed it off
Yeah.
a lot. But women who are managers.
It's not, yeah, all right. But it's not even just women, but keep going.
But for me specifically,
I feel you.
the women who I've had a couple women who was in a management capacity,
Yeah.
where the vibe was a little questionable sometimes. And I never thought anything of it because I can just so easily remove myself from the situation.
Absolutely.
So there's definitely a stark difference, but it was there for sure. Mostly other stuff has just been kind of a little bit of a weird coworker thing. You know, you got to set a clear boundary and then move on with
That's
your life type of thing.
Typically, I've
But
been
as
there.
a guy, I just think it's so much easier to do that.
You know why I laughed and I said it's not only just women. Now, I can't speak to what the men I'm about to refer to, how they live their lives and what they're personally into. Like, I can't speak for them. I don't know them personally. But I have had, like, I've worked jobs where they're just like, hey, man, like, you're strong. And, like, they'll physically grab you.
Yeah.
I think the TikTok term is ick. Like, the thing that drives, like, man, don't
Gives you the ick.
touch me. Why are
No,
you?
I have had that.
Why
I
are
have
you
had that.
physically touching me in this professional setting anywhere beyond my wrist? Like, if we're not shaking hands, like, and it's one thing, like, playful pal, like, tap to the arm, cool. But the grab and squeeze,
Yeah. No, I've
They
had
have to
that
call
too.
HR on me in a second.
I think it's one of those things that's just accepted amongst
Yeah.
guys, especially if you're out to dinner or grabbing a
Yeah.
drink or something.
I
But
don't know you.
I mean, I'm large, so
that's what I'm saying. I can imagine people do it, like, all the
I'm
time with you.
desensitized to it
Heard.
at this point. They'll like grab my shoulder or grab my arm or
Oh
like,
my-
yeah,
just,
just all the time. And I don't think about it this way. I probably should,
You probably should.
but I don't. It's a desensitization for sure.
It's fair. We are no means trying to draw the same line of have my biceps squozen by a man that I work with, and what this young woman is having to deal with. But to that point, if any of you out there, male or female, are going through something where you feel like you have to ask the question, the answer is most likely yes, because even you having to put it into question means they've overstepped a boundary, and you need to seek assistance as soon as possible.
Yeah. And I'm especially sensitive to that for women who are in tech, just because the ratio of men in tech to women,
so high as
it's insane. So if you're in an environment like that, you just, tell someone. Just tell someone you trust, talk to HR, all of that stuff. It's all right. It'll work itself out. Communicate to them if you can, if you feel good. But if you don't feel comfortable enough to like talk to them directly, it's okay to just talk to someone. All right. So the next one, these next few, I'm gonna edit them a little bit, right?
Yeah.
There's some language, but we're gonna edit it. This one is also kind of on the career questions line. What the heck happened in the U.S.? Hi everyone. I've been an avid reader of the discussions here for quite some time, and something has caught my attention that I find both intriguing and disconcerting. I want to share my observations and personal experience with the software engineering job market, comparing the seemingly competitive landscape in the US with the opportunities available in Eastern Europe. From what I've gathered, the search for a software engineering position in the US has turned into a complicated and fiercely competitive endeavor. I'm left wondering what has led to this state of affairs, and whether others have noticed this trend. It seems like talented individuals are facing an uphill battle to secure fulfilling positions. Actually, I'll pause there for a second. Do you think that that's a thing? Is that a thing in the U.S.? To you, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it. And I definitely think stuff's changed a little bit, but there still seems to be a good amount of positions out there. All right, we'll just continue. My personal experience tells a different tale. Residing in Eastern Europe and recently laid off from a small team, to be honest, at first, I crap myself because I was out of the market for a while. But I witnessed something quite remarkable. Two of my colleagues with only 2 years of experience and no formal diplomas landed jobs that doubled their salaries within just a couple of weeks. As for myself, with 4 years of experience under my belt, I applied to 5 positions, participated in 3 interviews, and received 2 offers, all within a month's time. The job I accepted offers a take-home salary of between 40 and 50K US dollars. In my country, this is akin to living like a king salary. Also, the applicant's story is vastly different here. A LinkedIn job post gets only about 5 to 20 applications. The job I landed had under 10 applications over the course of a month.
Now that's nuts.
That's kind of crazy. Yeah, that's wild. Lot more job applications over here.
Yeah.
What strikes me most about these experiences is the stark contrast between the software engineering job landscapes in the US and Eastern Europe. The seemingly swift and successful job searches in my region stand in contrast to what appears to be a more laborious and competitive process in the US. What makes this all more intriguing is the pattern I believe is emerging. More and more U.S. companies seem to be turning their heads east in search of engineers. Could this be a response to the competitive nature of the domestic market, or perhaps a strategic move to capitalize on the talent available in regions like Eastern Europe? Reiterate the question, what the heck happened to the U.S. software engineering job market?
So the thought process, or the way my mind connects this, I'm gonna make you all aware of right now. It's left. Like, this is gonna be a completely left field thought, but you'll see how I tie it in. America has never been interested in anything but cheap wage. Mm-hmm. And I say that to say, when you think about cheap wage in America, what word pops up through Google? Slavery. Not the main focus of where I'm going, but think about it. A lot of people think that slavery was ended because humans had feelings about what was happening to other humans. Mm-hmm. No, it was the cotton gin. They realized that the technology said, hey, we could do more. We don't got to beat them. And they don't talk back. So, hey, everything works from that perspective. It's the same thing here. I wouldn't think that they're turning east, but that's just like capitalism, right? Yeah. Where we find cheap labor or automation or the ability to pay less to widen our margins, we will do so. Yeah. So nothing here sounds crazy to me outside the 10 applicants in a month thing.
Yeah, that's kind of wild that there's so little folks applying for these jobs. I agree in the sense that, and I don't think it's new, honestly. I feel like there was a lot of companies who were going and looking overseas for workers, especially in the tech and software industries. There were certain laws in place and things to make that harder and to keep jobs here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. But yeah, stuff in the U.S. and software engineers across the entire tech field is going to be more expensive than getting it overseas. I don't know if that's exactly what we're seeing here. I feel like there is a bit of a challenge for folks maybe at the early point of their career. But the folks that I've known that have been laid off or had difficulty in the job, they've been able to find other work if they've had a few years of experience and still be paid a comparable wage. Yeah. Like, I haven't seen a dramatic decline. Let us know in the comments if you have, because maybe there definitely are some. That's just in what I've seen. Yeah. I don't know. I think that it's amazing. The most amazing thing in here to me was that 40 to 50K was living like a king.
I think that's just like, you think about like when you apply for jobs nowadays, they have to pay transparency is a very, very real thing. Mm-hmm. And there are laws, like you mentioned, in place that they have to identify where you live, even if it's a remote role. So they might say, hey, we're in California, and we're okay with you living on the East Coast time zone. But if you take this job and you live in New York, your pay salary will be $130 to $180. If you take this and you live between Pennsylvania and Wyoming, it's going to be $90 to $120. We're just telling you this straight, and that's maybe unfair, but there are laws that make it so that they have to keep up with the cost of living if they're offering remote work. So I can only imagine that if I'm the leader of this company, I'm going, all right, so I can still get a talented employee from Eastern Europe. I clearly don't care about the time zones because whatever work they're handing in. Like, for instance, I work alongside a train where the business cases are from Mexico and Brazil. So in Brazil, we have all vendor work that comes in. All of our code for that place comes in from vendors within Brazil. Mm-hmm. So when am I ever on Brazil's timeline? Or when are we ever on India's timeline? A lot of people work with India-based offshore developers. If I can, what's stopping me from going to do it?
Mm. Yeah, it's true. I think specifically if I'm honing in on the software engineering role, I don't think that it's dramatically competitive overall in the job market in the U.S. What I think is, like it's always been, it's dramatically competitive in the top companies. Like, all of FANG is going to be competitive. Yeah. But they're still looking and they're still offering jobs, even with the layoffs and stuff like that. So I feel like maybe because that's what you hear about in other countries, that's what you're thinking of. But you can just find a software engineering role that isn't for a top FANG type company, and be fine from what I'm currently seeing.
Agreed.
That was interesting. Let's this one. Which one do I want to do? I got a couple here. I'm actually gonna come back to. I'm gonna do this one first because I really want to get your thoughts on. This is one of my favorite ones. I want out is the title.
I knew you was gonna read this one.
This is what I think is interesting. All right, I want out. It's posted in the DevOps space. This is just a rant, but I want out. I don't know if I want out of this startup or the tech field in general, but whatever I'm currently in, I want out. For the past 4+ years, it just feels like nonstop project after project. I've completely lost the joy of DevOps, or whatever that means anymore. The pay is good, it's going to be hard to leave behind, but every day just feels like a grind into nothingness. The interview process at most companies is effing exhausting. I have made it to several final interviews. All of these interviews were a minimum 5 rounds, approximately 7+ hours in total, only to get skipped over for another candidate who has some niche skill set or said just the right thing to the right person. I finally landed a good step-up position, career-wise, into another startup a few months ago, and it's just piling on the misery. Maybe there's something else to do in tech, but whatever it is I'm doing now isn't it. Whatever I'm doing now, it isn't it. I read this and I was like, first thought, very burnt out.
Yeah.
He's very burnt out, whoever they are. And this is what, to me, burnout ends up looking like.
Yeah.
You're just, nothing is fun anymore. Nothing feels good anymore. One of the responses that I thought was funny was like, the golden handcuffs, a tale as old as time. And I'm like, that could be a thing too. You could, just because the money's good, be staying in this role that you absolutely hate. And that, of course, is not good either. But my recommendation for stuff like this, because this is a very tough situation, is, bro, you need to get some rest. Okay, get some rest. Take care of your mental health.
Mm-hmm. Go see a beach or something, dog.
Yeah, go see a beach and
put your toes in the sand.
Try to assess through the rest if this is something you genuinely hate. At which point we can plan for that, or you were just burnt out and you needed to rest. You don't know until after you take the rest. Now, it may be that you just you really don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. At that point, explore some different roles, hopefully in tech, maybe get out of the DevOps space specifically for sure. But I'm curious to your thoughts.
All right, we're going to break this down.
All right.
I got about 4 points that kind of bother me about this rant, but a rant's a rant and people are allowed to. The first one, for the past 4+ years, it just feels like nonstop project after project. Mm-hmm. Let me make one thing very clear. Working in tech is project after project after project. See, a lot of people don't understand the difference between a product and a project. Projects have end dates. Products do not. So if I'm building a website that will host our e-commerce for X amount of time, that is our product. And until it's no longer selling, we will continue to add and change those things. But if I'm responsible for upgrading all of our Windows machines to Windows 98 because we hate the new one, we want to go back in time. Hey, once we get all of them completed, the project is done. So there is nowhere you will find, unless you're specifically product focused, that you're not going to have start and ends as you continue to move through your product, especially in DevOps. It's kind of like your job. Like, help me get my work out to the world, right, in a safe manner. The second one kind of coincides with the bottom one. It says the pay is good. It's going to be hard to leave behind, but every day just feels like a grind into nothingness. And at the bottom, he says, also before someone says, just quit. If I could, I would. This reminds me of a conversation I had with a gentleman, our architect, probably about 6 months into my first tech job. And he's talking to his contracting firm and the company he's with. And he's just like, yeah, they've been trying to give me a raise for the last X amount of years. I decline the raises and take the bonuses. Now, my literally the waves you see, the top of my head is in my seat next to me because I've never imagined a person turning down money and raise. He explained to me in a moment, he said, lifestyle creep is a very real thing. And if you allow your expenses to catch your income, you will become a slave to whoever you work for. Because trust me when I tell you, they have the money to keep you there, but you may not have the freedom to leave as you choose and want. That looks like it's what's happened here. Because if you can't just go, hey, I'm done here, I need to find something else. Not to say you just drop it, but at least you can't go, hey, if I decide to take 2 months to figure out what's next, I have it. They talk about those golden handcuffs. You're attached to them now because whatever life decisions you made, you need the money. So that's kind of very important too. And the last thing, I guess, to bring it into 3, it talks about the interview process. First off, people aren't getting called for interviews. People are just flat out not getting called back for interviews right now. So the fact that you're even getting these callbacks is a good thing and shows you that there is something on the other side. Now, the issues that you give says that somebody else has a niche skill set or they said the right thing to the right person. Now the ball's in your court.
Yeah.
You need to figure out what that skill set is, right? Don't sit here and complain, although that's what you came here to do, and I get that. But now you need, when they tell you, hey, they just had something that, we could kind of use, your next question when they tell you that should be, hey, you mind if you tell me what that is? I'd like to go research that. Take the opportunity to create the niche skill set so that you become that person. Or I don't know how you would even quantify this and knowing that another person said the right thing to the right. I just sound like hate. Said the right thing to the right person. Stop hating. But I don't really got no advice for you on that one. But
It's a skill issue.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, you said the right thing. Yeah, you didn't. Stop hating. But yeah, those are my main things when I look at this. Like, a lot of people are experiencing burnout because the world, well, I won't say the world, the U.S.'s economy is squeezing so tight that it's just like, hey, man, even if I do want to go, eggs are $8 a carton, so I can't just bounce like that. But you're not alone, dog. If there's anything that can leave this with Evan Gamer 9000, you're not alone.
He said the whole.
Yeah.
He said his whole username. No, it's funny. So the original poster responded to one of the comments, one of the replies, which said, "Get out of startup land."
I was thinking that too. I was dead thinking that too.
Yeah. And his response is, he said, "I think that the majority of the pain I'm experiencing now is from quote unquote startup culture. Everything is so rushed and band-aided that there's never breathing room or time to be able to do things the right way, even when it's strongly recommended." And I feel like that's valid.
Yeah,
if you're in the wrong startup or you're worried about funding, like it's startup culture as a whole is intense.
Yeah.
But then there's, I think, the wrong side of startup culture, which is just completely imbalanced and jacked up. So yeah, it's hard. You really need the right people in place to know when to really do the work that needs to be done, and knows when to rush. But startup culture is a consequence. You're just going to be moving faster.
Facts.
And you're going to have to put things together as a part of it. I thought that was worth highlighting. And yeah, if you don't like constant change, because there's a group of engineers that love that.
Yeah,
like,
facts.
they love the constant change. They love the hustle. Like, I really enjoy startup culture, but this person doesn't really seem like they're that crew of people. So you might want to get out of the startup game.
But I'll tell you what, you come over to the big enterprise, baby. You're going to be drowning
You want
in
to work on the same thing for 2 years?
Ever? 2 years is generous.
Yeah.
I got a RTE I work with who is now the RTE of this one train. It started 20 years ago as a small internal program that he developed. And because he was the only SME left and the product grew and we started offering it to other banks, he became the RTE because he had firsthand knowledge on how it was built. Wow. So trust me, you get into the enterprise land, you could be working on stuff for multiple decades, bro. You want to talk about project after project, you won't have to worry about that.
And then there's a whole other level of annoying. You'll just see a different type of annoying. Oh, that was funny. I'm glad we did that one. All right, this one I thought was interesting too. My manager, it's loading. My manager won't promote me to senior engineer, although I was exactly that for the past 4 months.
Oh, this is about to give me flashbacks. Go ahead.
I may have picked it. I may have picked it thinking about you
Yeah,
a little
it's fair.
bit. You know, this is all right. 4 months ago, I got a project to lead the front end part. I saw it was a great opportunity for promotion and worked my butt off. I was a mentor. I did the coding, planning, structuring, testing, reviews, estimation, and the whole front end part was on me. I had 2 other developers with me, but they were junior and mid, and I had to do the hand holding. It's just funny because it sounded like you said the dev was mid.
Yeah, don't be calling that dev mid.
I get what you meant. Okay.
Yeah,
I get what you meant. Now the project is finished. Everything was great. Client is extremely happy. I wanted to talk to my manager and ask him for a promotion to senior engineer and a 20% raise. He said I am too direct and I should have indirectly asked for this, and other managers won't
That's not
like
real.
him.
That's real.
Probably nice and say what they actually think. Oh, the other managers won't be like him and say that nicely like he did. I feel like this is gaslighting. But anyway,
Yeah, big time.
we'll keep going.
I hate that term, but big time.
I asked him, did I already do the role and finish everything that was needed? And he said yes, but he is not happy with my work pace before that. After that, he asked me why did I ask him for this and what was my plan. So I don't get it. I have a 6-year-old.
6 years of experience.
No, I have 6 years of experience. I was like, whoa, this just got deep.
I got kids.
They're like, yo, bro,
I need this 20%
I feel
raise.
that. I feel that, bro. So I told
You projected.
I have 6 years of experience, already did the responsibilities, and showed myself. Have I approached this in the wrong way or what?
No. You didn't approach it. I've seen this specifically, but you didn't approach it wrong.
Here's the only issue. I have no problem for you asking for the raise. No problem with you taking the initiative and, expecting, hoping that this is going to pay off. Here's my one problem is that you didn't, from this at least, it doesn't look like you discuss with your manager up front before taking on that responsibility.
Facts.
What success looks like and what a promotion looks like.
Facts.
This shouldn't be a surprise for your manager after the work is done.
And your manager sounds like trash.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
because
No,
your
yeah.
manager
I don't
should be
like his
having this
response.
conversation with you, not
100%.
in reverse. It helps. You'll only. It's like a term I heard recently. You're only worth what you can negotiate, not what you believe you are. So if you're not having those conversations, you're constantly going to be left out of what you believe you should have because you're not negotiating for it. But in a management subordinate, in the lack of a better term, management developer, management worker type relationship,
yeah.
it's their responsibility to help you with a career plan to know how to advance.
Yeah,
So
and a
they
kind
should be having
manager,
that conversation.
for sure, a kind manager, a manager that's actually interested in your best interests,
Yeah.
should have noticed and seen you going above and beyond and tried to coach you on how to navigate a promotion together. Those are the best managers. This manager obviously isn't that concerned about your well-being, but this is also the tough reality of every industry, not even just software. So you proactively, for the next time, right? Because I would just recommend at this point you start checking out other things. But for the next time, I would talk to them up front before the project starts. Like, hey, it looks like I'm going to be serving in a lead capacity. What are the things that you need to see from me in order for me to be promoted to a senior engineer? And ask them, what does that promotion look like from a salary increase perspective? I was thinking, if you want to, you can say, I was seeing this in the market, but I'm trying to understand how realistic my expectations are.
Yeah.
That's a very easy way to navigate this. And that way, by the end of it, if you get that correspondence and that expectation was set, it's all on them. It's already, I don't like how the manager approached this, but you have to understand as an individual not navigating the career job world, how to advocate for yourself.
Facts.
You have to.
Nah, man. Because I worked in the same capacity, and they were just like, "Hey, man, we can't do it." So I had to find somebody who would. Like, that's just really what it comes down to. And my situation was a little bit different because I was told that the transformation or the transition would happen at the result of me passing through the program, right? After I passed the coaching program, a little internship, then they would move me fully into being a coach from a title perspective and a compensation perspective. But even to that point, my manager was just like, hey, I tried to flip the switch and they wouldn't let me flip the switch. Calls her manager. Yeah, he's good for it. He tries to flip the switch. They won't let him flip the switch. Goes up to the CIO level. Hey, what's holding him from flipping the switch? Oh, HR. Oh, now we got to talk about degrees. We have to, but he's been doing the work for the last, yeah, we know, but cool. So, yeah, man.
Yeah. See, at that point, at least in that situation, you had managers that were advocating for you.
Exactly.
And make sure you have the receipts of them advocating, because that's a whole other thing. But at that point, it's just time. Like, they don't think you can leave. That's really what it comes down to.
And to that point where I thought you was gonna go with it, hey man, if you're gonna stick your foot in the dirt, you better be all right with whatever cut comes as a result of it. If you're gonna put that cleat down, because if you want to have this conversation with him, now you can't just shuffle your way back into the same role with your head down. Because the next thing that comes as a result of this is, I have senior dev experience, maybe not from a role perspective, or a title perspective, but from a role perspective. So now when I go on interviews as a senior or as a lead, I can speak to it. So now the next step is, hey, they value me as a lead dev. Anything change here? No, but you gotta be willing to jump.
Oh yeah. If you're gonna get an offer, you have to be committed and willing to jump. And my approach is probably a little controversial, but if I go through the process of getting an offer, I'm taking the offer. That's just
there's
like 9 times out of 10.
A way that they could.
I'm not gonna say never.
Yeah,
I don't
fair.
like the absolutes.
It's fair.
But 9 times out of 10,
they come and match you.
Because my approach is what I said before. This has been a problem for me for a long time.
Facts.
We've had these open discussions. I went out of my way to adhere to your expectations that you defined to me, because I asked you plenty of time prior, right? And you still consistently, over the course of a significant enough period of time, let's just say 6 months to a year, have been lacking on your end of the bargain.
Oh yeah, I'm out of here.
So if I'm at that point, I'm out, and you shouldn't be surprised. Like, why are you surprised?
It's like when I did my exit interview at the last spot. I'm talking to my manager. He's just like, "What's the new compensation like?" Just so I can know I can go back. I'm just like, "Gee, I can't match it." And he was just like, "No, yeah, but you never know." I told him, he was like, "Yeah, no way we're gonna be able to match that." But I'm happy for you. Like I have to tell them what it was, but I'm just like, "Yeah, I knew I was out of here."
That's the same.
And I didn't want to leave, but
because
I got kids.
It's funny because you don't have kids. That's for everyone else. Why that's so funny to me. The thing that I find, like, with this company that was underpaying me probably about 30 to 50K, and we talked about it. They understood it. It was just like kind of a company culture thing that was happening to a lot of people. I said, okay, I understand what you're saying to me. This is still going to be a problem for me in the not so distant future. We had those very candid, open discussions. Was very respectful about it. Still have great relationships with all those people.
Indeed.
But when I got the offer, this is what was really annoying. I got the offer, and then 2 or 3 bosses up from where I was. I met with them before I left, and they were like, "I wish you would have brought me the offer, and I would have matched it."
If y'all would have paid me, you'd have never seen it.
And that's why I'm going to choose to leave.
Every time.
If I go through that process, I'm going to choose to leave. Because now it's like, you made me call your bluff.
Yeah.
Like, if you really knew I was that valuable. Because they weren't surprised by the offer.
No.
They knew the amount of money people were paying. They were like, oh, no, that makes sense. I wish you would have came to me, I would have matched it. And I said, that is insane.
It's infuriating.
That's the thing that
you might as well
really
just not said
pisses
that
me
to
off about, and it's not just them. It's many different corporations.
That's just like people.
Well, dude, that's just capitalism. Like you said, that's one of the things of capitalism. I'm
people
gonna make
do that
you
in relationships. Like,
yeah,
hey, if I knew that you would have did X, Y, Z, I'd have taken you to the movies that night,
What?
girl. Like, no, take her to the movies.
what
dog.
are you talking about,
Fam.
Like,
What made me upset with this is the manager talking about like other managers won't be like him. You're being too direct, dog. Am I spending your money? Like, is that 20% coming out of your check? That's what I'm saying. I hate managers like that.
Maybe
bro.
it is. Maybe it was a company.
It's startup dude from before. That's what we don't know.
I do think it's interesting. Some managers though, because they do own a certain budget,
True.
like it will end up coming out of something related to them. Like if they're over budget in some way or another, or under budget somewhere or another, they tie their bonus structures to it and all that nonsense, which I think is just another fundamentally broken thing. A lot of times, there's a lot more creative ways to do that.
It's like the office. Do we get a new printer? Do we get chairs? Does he just take the bonus, take the surplus and walk?
All right. Well, look, we got more, but I think now's a good place to stop. We're at right around the 40-minute mark. Hey, let us know in the comments if you guys like this or you want us to do different things.
Or you can send some in.
Yeah, send us something to react to if you find it interesting. But we appreciate everyone watching, and we'll see you in the next one.